Chad Schroll with Warren Industries. Been working here about 33 years, laying in the dirt since I was about 5 years old, so got a lot of off-road experience. Today we're talking about entry-level off-roading and equipment needed for that. We'll cover vehicles, equipment, and techniques. So what is off-roading? Could be as simple as a gravel road, which is nice on a sunny day and a mess on a wet day. Depending on what you're going to try and do, you need to choose the right vehicle. So no matter what vehicle you choose, the most important is to learn your vehicle and how it works. Today we're going to be talking about a Jeep and a Subaru. Let's talk about the Subaru to review the features that affect off-road performance. So the Subaru, being all-wheel drive, it is computer controlled. It monitors the road conditions and adjusts for it. There's no buttons that I have to push, it just does it. It's an automatic transmission. It has a manual select position, but one thing I'm missing on this guy is a super low range, like two-speed transfer case. In my experience, taking these off-road and trail riding, they're a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but I do miss that low range. Let's talk about tires. Tires are really important when you're off-road. You can see that they've been modified. Aftermarket tires, this is a BFG all-terrain tire. It is constructed a little bit differently than just a standard street tire, so it's got better traction and a better carcass that'll hold up to rocks and more jagged edges. All right, let's talk about spare tires. On this guy, you can see there's no spare tire exposed on the outside. This one's going to be inside. And quite often, this is what you're going to see. Where is the spare tire? We're going to dig for it on this guy a little bit. And to get the spare tire out, we're going to have to remove all this stuff, set it aside, get the spare tire out. And this has a space saver spare tire, so it's a small little donut tire. And if you're 50 miles out on a gravel road, I wouldn't be so comfortable running this back. Let's look at some ground clearance on this Subaru. When you're off-roading, ground clearance under the vehicle is very important. This guy's got a pretty flat belly under there, but it's good to take a look under there and see what you got. Is there anything hanging down? All right, so we're looking at the front bumper on this Subaru, and you can see how much it's covered up on this guy. So there's not a lot of attachment points. And if you go underneath, they're hard to find and you're stuck, so they're going to be hard to get to. And then your straps could damage the front of your car. This guy has a light bar on the front that's good for holding lights. It might take a little bit of a bump, but you don't want to recover off this guy. In general, the Subaru is a great vehicle. It excels on road and has strong off-road capabilities. We're done talking about Subaru. Now we're going to talk about the Jeep and some of the features on the Jeep that affect off-road performance. Big difference on this guy compared to the Subaru all-wheel drive is you got to do all the controls yourself. You got your transfer case, you got your shift lever for the transmission, you got your locker controls, you got sway bar controls. A lot more to work with there, but it also gives you choices. So there's pros and cons to this type of system. All right, let's talk about some wheels, tires, and suspension on this guy. We've upgraded this vehicle just like we did on the Subaru. We're running some BFG Mud Train KM3s, harder side carcass, good tread pattern, some side lug pattern. We also touch base on the Warren Epic wheels here. This particular model is the Moonsault. That also leads us into suspension. To get the bigger tires in here to make clearance for these guys, we've kind of gone all out on this. We got a suspension kit on this, long arm FabTech kit with coilover reservoir shocks. It's a nice setup. It's a big job to put this one on. Then we also did a little extra here. We've got FabTech fenders and inner fenders in here. Gave us just a little bit more clearance back here, so when you're really twisted up on the trail, you don't have any tire rubbage. All right, it's important to have a full-size spare when you're off-roading. Opposed to the Subaru, we showed that had the donut spare. If we were running that, we would carry a full-size spare. In this case, we've upgraded the tire sizes to a larger size that don't fit in the stock location, so we carry this one in the bed, and it matches the rest of the tires, so we can swap it to the ground, use it in rotation, have a full-size spare ready to go. So ground clearance on this particular vehicle, it looks pretty good. I mean, look how high that looks. But really what you'll want to look at is back here. So true ground clearance is not that much better than the Subaru if you're looking at the very lowest points. But in the middle, breakover angle is better in that case. It's kind of back to learning your vehicle. You got to know where your low spots are and where your high spots are. Keep that in mind when you're driving the trail. On this vehicle, we also added some FabTech light mounts here, so you can slide these guys in and out. So that's one of the benefits of this guy. You can get them a little wider, a little closer in for clearance, and running some rigid adaptive XB lights. So your extra lighting will help with good visibility when you're off-roading, help other people see you as well as you see farther down the trail. Recovery points are so important when you're off-roading. This particular Fab 4 stubby bumper has multiple points. You got shackle mounts, you got rope attachment points up here, fog light attachments, and the stubby part of it is because it doesn't extend out past the front of the tire. It gives you a good approach angle. This one also has the under crash bar there to protect the sway bar disconnect, frame mounted so that it can handle the loads, and you also have a nice location to mount the Warn winch. This Warn winch is a Xeon 10 with synthetic rope on it, manual transmission for disengage for free spool, and a flat link E factor 55. Really like this guy. It's got this oval opening so you can cam these guys in and go direct to a bumper mount on another vehicle with that setup. One of the benefits of a Warn winch is you're out on the trail and you get yourself hung up and you're doing some self-recovery or even recovery of another vehicle. You can use the winch to get yourself over obstacles instead of just pounding on your vehicle and make your vehicle drivetrain last longer. All right, we've moved around to the rear of the Jeep. This one has an aftermarket bumper back here as well, Warn Elite. Recovery points on this guy. We don't have the shackles hanging in there, both sides. And we also are running a factor 55 hitch link on this guy. You screw your shackle onto this guy as well. Use this if you're going to recover off your 2-inch receiver. Do not use a trailer ball style. Overall, the Jeep is more purpose-built for off-road use, as opposed to the Subaru, which is much more of a balance for on- and off-road use. All right, we're out here in the field today. We're going to do a little bit of wheeling. We're going to get stuck. We're going to hook up some accessories and do some winch techniques, some hand signals, and just have a good day. But before we get into that, we're going to go over a little bit of the gear. We got an air compressor for air backup. We're doing repairs. We got a repair kit. We've got accessories for air and down and gauges. We've got a large accessory kit, a smaller accessory kit, some maps for navigation, radio for communication, traction boards, and a shovel. This will get us going, get us started. We'll go over this a little bit more in detail as we need it. Pretty important to air down when you're on soft terrain, sand, snow, mud. It will help with your traction. Today we got pretty hard sand, so we're not too bad, but we're gonna go for 15 pounds today. And just keep an eye on each tire as it goes down. With a simple pencil gauge, and just keep an eye on it. All right, now that we're down to 15 pounds on this guy, we'll just work our way around the vehicle and hit each one. We're out here running on designated area. This is approved OHV area, and we're staying on the trail. We're paying attention, even though we're going through some mud puddles and running over tree roots and stuff. Trying to be gentle. We're not spinning the tires too much. So this trail we're on today, it's not a super hard trail, but it's got a lot of roots and tree roots, and it's got a little bit of water. We're gonna try and stay out of water as much as we can, but there's some spots where we just can't miss it. So we will gingerly dip into it and see how deep it is. We're also running diff covers on the front of this guy and rear. And so if you do hit that front diff, which is the lowest part on that front axle, help protect that guy. And nice and slow travel. Pick the line. We're running with the spotter on this one. When you're running with the spotter's not going to pay for your parts. So if you don't like the line, you just stop, wait for something that you feel comfortable with. So here's an example. We got a couple of things going on. You got a low clearance point here. This lower control arm in the rear arm, it's actually dragging on this tree root, and it's lifting this back tire a little bit, which you'd think would help, but it's taking all the pressure off this tire, so you got no traction. You also got a wet tree root here, wet tires, it's just not gonna grab it, and it's undercut underneath. So sometimes when you get a situation like that, you just gotta pick another line to get that tire in a different position here, either up on this edge or over that way, so it's not getting that undercut bite, because it won't climb out of here without winching. right-handers hooking this guy up. He's gonna drag this rope out. Always make sure you're wearing gloves. Let's run it in. The intention's pulling on, and at that point, you don't want to touch anything. It's still not super tight. It's got some flex to it, but this is where everybody gets back. The driver has control of everything, so we're ready to winch. I'm going to use some hand signals. Winch in, and help a little bit. Little throttle. See how that climbed up? All right, he's up and free. At this point, we'll unhook everything, get the rope wrapped back on the drum by hand, and call this little winch session a day. We're out here in the sand. In this case, we got the Gladiator stuck, and I gotta admit, I don't have that much experience with the boards. They say they got shovel capability. And also I grabbed a couple of tie-down straps because they do get it buried in the sand. So we will hook these guys in here. What this is going to do for you is so when they get buried in the sand, hopefully this strap stays sticking up so it's easier to find them. And we're gonna, before I put the strap on the other one, we're gonna shovel a little bit. If I had my choice, I'd rather have a real shovel. All right, this particular board has two different ends. This end actually says shovel on it, so this end is your drive on end. You don't want to spin your tires when you come up on this thing, so you want to be gentle. I relieved all the holes so that I try and get the board underneath there to get it started. Hopefully it'll climb right up on it. All right, we're gonna try and pull forward. We're cheating a little bit. We got a Rubicon with lockers turned on. This one's a little deeper. All right, we're gonna go out and get stuck some more. All right, now we're properly stuck. We've got my buddy here. He's gonna help pull us out. We're gonna use a Kinetic rope. And basically what this factor 55, what this guy does, it'll stretch a little bit, about 30%. And so when you shock load it, stretch, and kind of like a rubber band, it'll pull out the stuck vehicle. You should practice a little bit before you get in a situation where you need it, because this is one of those situations where if I don't do what I'm supposed to do and he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, you could end up with two rigs stuck with a tight line between it. There's a little bit of communication that needs to happen between us before we start tugging on this guy. So we'll get hooked up, then we'll talk to each other so we know what we're doing. All right, I got a lot of parts out here. You're thinking, what the heck am I doing? Why didn't he just hook up here? Hook up to that guy and give it a yank. Well, you can do that, but you know, this is all tied nicely into the frame. But if I just pull on one side, I'm still stress loading one half of that frame. So we're gonna do a bridle today. We're gonna use some hard shackles on this end. Get this guy hooked up, and what the bridle's gonna do is it will equalize the load across this guy and keep your frame nice and straight. Also, when you're sitting your pins, bring them up till they touch, back them off just a little bit, touch, back off just a little bit. Reason for that is if you don't back them off a little bit, sometimes when you pull a load on it, it will tighten that guy up. Now you got to go get a tool to get this guy loose. So at this point, we're going to go to soft equipment. So we're going to do a soft shackle out here. We'll grab one end of the dynamic strap. And I got to get one more shackle to make a connection point here to the Factor 55 hitch link. This is going right into the vehicle frame support, tow bar, hooked right directly into the frame. And now that I'm hooked up, and it's not that this vehicle is going to take off, but that vehicle being on a hill, and say for some reason it was muddy and that guy started sliding, this rope can come tight at any time. So now that I'm attached, I'm going to go around the front of the vehicle. We're all hooked up back here. We're going to do a recovery here before we actually hop in the vehicles and just take off and do whatever. We're going to talk to each other so we know what needs to happen. I'm going to put it in gear back there and very lightly help until that rope goes tight. Then I'll give it a little more throttle to help pull myself out. At the same time, what he needs to do is when he gets to the end of the rope, let off the throttle, because if you stay hard on the throttle, you have the potential of burying the tow vehicle to the point where now both of you are stuck. All right, we're gonna get this cleaned up. We're gonna head over and do some downhill compression braking. We're gonna do a descent here down a sand hill. We're gonna straight down so that you don't side hill it. But a couple things we got going on here. We got it in 4 low, so we got a 4-to-1 transfer case. So that means for every 1 input, for every 4 inputs, you get 1 output. So that's your 4-to-1. I also have it flipped over to the manual mode, and I have it locked in first gear. And I'm gonna just use the compression braking to go down this hill. All right, as we're going down this thing, I'll have to do a little steering correction, so it's going to want to slide a little bit in sand. This could also be true in the mud, but having the low gears, I'm not touching the brakes at all. This is just all compression braking, so the engine's holding us back. Nice and easy on the equipment. Smooth transition at the bottom. Hey, thanks for coming out with us today. This is just a brief overview of some of the equipment and some of the techniques. So there's a lot more to learn. And for more information, go to warren.com. Go prepared.